Hi everyone, this is Mr. Spinelli with round 2 of WordMasters Challenge. Today we're going to be going over words 1 through 14 for round 2. For homework due on Friday the 18th, please pause the video after each word and create a flashcard that has the following. On the front of the card, I only want the word. I know some people had word and definition. I really want you to stick to just the word. On the back of the card, I'd like you to include the parts of speech, all definitions, and an original detailed quality sentence. I know you're new with these words, but try to use the examples that I give and do the best you can with creating your own sentence using the word. And here we go. The first word is haven, and this is one of many words that you've probably heard before. You've probably heard it used as a safe haven. It is both a noun and a verb, and something I should mention right now is a lot of these words coming up are great words that have multiple parts of speech, so be aware of that as we're going through this slideshow. And a haven is any place of shelter and safety as a noun. It also means to shelter or protect. If you're looking for an example of haven as a noun, take a look at this. This is actually the scene at the Superdome in New Orleans after the horrific aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And this was, the Superdome became a safe haven for people. That's where they went for shelter to ride out the storm. So a haven, again, is any place of shelter and safety, and you can use it as a verb to mean to shelter or protect someone or something. Fillet is a great word with multiple meanings. The first is almost like fillet if you got a fillet of fish. It means to strip off the skin or outer covering of. One that you may more commonly use it as now is this one right here, which is to criticize or scold. So like in this situation, the mother is filleting the daughter maybe for a bad quiz score or a behavioral issue. And the last one means to deprive or strip of money or property. A lot of times you'll see, we talked about with Scrooge, the couple was happy about his death because that meant that they wouldn't get filleted, that they wouldn't lose their property, they wouldn't lose their home, they wouldn't get evicted because of the fact that he had passed away, and they were happy instead of being sad. Reluctant. Reluctant is a great word. I'm pretty sure many of you use it. I don't really have an image to go with it, but reluctant, think of anything that is you're unwilling or nervous or unsure. For example, you're sitting in class and I ask a question about what a certain quote means in A Christmas Carol, and I see a lot of you look really reluctantly at me, like I think I might know the answer, but I'm not quite sure. So reluctant means you're not really sure. You may be reluctant to raise your hand if you don't know the answer, or you may be reluctant to ask for help if you're afraid of looking silly or looking dumb during class. Plateau. You've probably heard this word. If you haven't already in SOC, you will hear it at some point. And a plateau is a land area having a level surface considerably raised above the surrounding land. And here's a perfect example of this, and you can see the plateau right here. They're very common in Arizona and out in the Southwest. Now, plateau also has another meaning that's important, and a plateau is basically a period or state of little or no change. For example, after the Patriots won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, many people worried that over the past 8 years or so they've kind of plateaued and they've almost settled for just making it to the Super Bowl and not winning the Super Bowl. And a verb means to reach a state of little or no change, especially to stop progressing. And this graph, no matter what the graph is, I know it's some sciencey graph, but it shows you that the data has plateaued here. Okay? So imagine if this was like your English grade and you got up to like B- and you plateaued. You would stay the same way for a length of time, which obviously isn't a good thing. Covet. Covet is a great word, and it has 2 different definitions. It's a verb. The first is to desire or want wrongfully. For example, if you notice that the kid sitting next to you has a very nice tablet or iPad or brand new phone, you may covet that, and that might mean you're almost jealous or envious of them for having that device. The other is to wish for eagerly. and I saw this picture online of this dessert that I covet very much. In fact, now I think I have an idea of what I want my cake to look like at my wedding. I'm not sure if I'll get Robin to go for this, though. We'll see. Porous is another great word that can be used in many ways. It is an adjective, and it basically means full of holes. Penetrable. In other words, you can get in. When you think I say sieve like there, think of like when mom or dad strains pasta at home, they use that bowl with the holes in it so the water comes out. That's what porous means. And an example would be a bucket with holes in it. You can see all the pores literally letting all of the water out. Another example from this Sunday's game is that the Texans defense on a couple of the touchdowns were accused of being rather porous and allowing Varian to just kind of waltz in, as you can see here. This is one of the ones that was closer, but there are a couple other touchdowns where it seemed like the Patriots literally walked in and there were too many holes within the Texans defense. Harbinger is a really important word to have an understanding of. It is both a noun and a verb. The noun version is a person who announces the approach of another. It was very common in earlier wars that somebody would move ahead, before the times of radar and video and telephones. A messenger would move ahead and give news that a certain army was heading to a certain point. It also means anything that foreshadows a certain future event. For example, in this case, these stormy clouds are a harbinger of bad weather or rain. And the verb version is to announce the coming of. Ogle. Ogle is a word that, if you are not familiar with it yet, you will be at some point. As a verb, it means to eye or to look or stare at flirtatiously. Oftentimes, if you see somebody out in public and you think they're cute, you might ogle them, you might give them a second look. As this gentleman is doing in this picture, unfortunately, it looks like his wife or girlfriend is not too happy about that. And as a noun, it can be used as a flirtatious stare. Impervious. Impervious is almost like the opposite of porous in a way. Impervious, for a couple of reasons, means basically impenetrable, not allowing entrance. For example, you would hope that our jails, such as this one here in America, are impervious, that people aren't coming in and out as they please, that they're locked down. It also means unable to be persuaded. For example, the teacher was impervious to our requests to push the quiz back. And lastly, it means incapable of being injured or impaired. For example, Superman, we know, kryptonite is his weakness, but he's also impervious to guns. As you can see here, he's saying, you guys don't get out much, do you? Talking about, almost mocking them for the fact that their guns have no influence on Superman because he's impervious to everything but kryptonite. Promontory is another great sock word, and basically it's any piece of land, a high point of land or rock projecting into the sea or other water beyond a coast. It could also mean any high point of land overlooking a lowland. A perfect example of this would be in The Lion King, when Rafiki holds Simba out over the crowd. He's doing that off a promontory, like a cliff almost. And here's an example of one that's closer to water. You can see this is a promontory jetting out over in front of the water. Glower is a great word. It's the kind of word that you might use to describe the kind of looks you get from teachers or parents sometimes when you don't do what you're supposed to, like your chores or your homework. As a verb, it means to look or stare at with dislike or anger. And this is a great picture of Leo DiCaprio. I'm not sure what movie. It might be Inception. But he is certainly glowering at whomever he's looking at. The next one is a noun, and it means a look of dislike or anger. Same basic idea. And if any of you are familiar with the hysterical ventriloquist Jeff Dunham, he has a puppet named Walter. And Walter frequently throws glowers out at the crowd or at Jeff. So again, glower is a noun or a verb. and it basically involves looking or staring at something with anger and dislike. Imperative. You've definitely heard this before. Imperative as an adjective, again, multiple parts of speech. It's an adjective and it's a noun. As an adjective, it means absolutely necessary or required, command-like. For example, it's imperative every year that we do a fire drill multiple times in the year to make sure that we are ready to go in the event that there is an emergency. As a noun, an imperative is a command or something that demands attention. For example, this is an imperative from this queen lady to do your homework. Facade is a great word with double meaning. It's a noun in both cases. The first is it's any front of a building, but especially one that's decorated or a really fancy, beautifully designed building, such as this palace or this kind of museum in this picture. You can notice all the details and just how beautifully designed the front of the building is. It also means a superficial appearance or illusion of something. And let me explain this. It basically means like you pretend to be something you're not in a way. For example, you may put up a facade that you're a really tough person or a tough kid to deal with in school to your teachers, but it may just be that you are having some hard times at home, and deep down you're kind of upset about that. A great example from sports is Vince Wilfork. Here you look at him, he's got to put on this facade of being this kind of angry dude. But we know that deep down, he's a very caring, very compassionate, very funny guy to be around. But on the field, he puts on a facade of being this kind of, big, mean quarterback killing machine. Our last word is provoke. And again, it should be another word you're familiar with. It is a verb, and it means to anger and enrage or to stir up and incite. Couple cute pictures. First of all, how cute is this picture of the two bears getting ready to fight, and this one's kind of poking him or trying to anger and enrage. In this picture, this is actually a protest in London, and you can see that something happened to stir up the crowd. So when you use the word provoke, you're trying to describe in a way somebody was angered or enraged or something just got started. Oftentimes on each professional hockey team, they will have somebody whose job it is to provoke fights. Somebody whose job it is to go out there and kind of poke around and cause problems. Okay, I would like to thank Google Images for all of their help in giving me all these great images to share with you. Remember that you need to pause after each word and create a flashcard that has the word on the front and on the back, the parts of speech, definitions, and an original detailed sentence. The quiz for words 1 through 14 will be on Wednesday the 30th. It's an early release day for us, so we'll have it on Wednesday the 30th. Please make sure that you're getting down all of the parts of speech, and that you're trying your best to use a really quality descriptive sentence that would get you full credit on a quiz. Have a great night, and I will see you soon.